a little bit early, I know, but once I turn on my phone, I don't even know what time it is, and I have this other little, what do you call it, analog thing. All right, it says share with friends. I'm gonna try. Don't mess me up there, the old Facebooky thing. Hey everybody, Maud Betty here from the Hacienda summer, I guess we'd almost call it my fall studio. A little smidge muggy here, but I don't want to go inside until I absolutely have to. So I don't have to. Yeah, kind of muggy, kind of whatever. But, and also just if anybody, I am sitting at a different table configuration today, so I'm feeling a little bit off. But maybe that'll just keep me like loose and flexible. You know what I mean? Hey, Michael Hirsch, nice to see you. Charles, nice to see you as well. This is when I do my romper room saying hello to everybody in the magic mirror thing, which I love. So I love seeing people popping up. So thank you for showing up. Thank you for letting me know you can see me. And thank you, honestly, for putting the comments in the comment section. It's opposite for me. So there we go, right there. So today is episode 37. I have shown up 37 times, people. This is crazy that this has just become a thing ever since March 17th of this year. Pardon me, I see a little weird hair thing. I know I'm not supposed to, oh, making it worse. Cross that off. This is when she makes her hair worse. She's making it worse. Anyhow, so I've been going through all of the states of the U.S. Started over here in New England, my home neck of the woods. We're going west. Going west, moving right along, as Kermie and Fozzie would say. Can't see or hear you, are you? Oh, Charles. Don't do that. So we are here. We are here past the Mississippi River. And check it out, we went all the way up here. Now we're coming down, and now we're in... See that one that looks like a pan with a handle, a pan handle? Oklahoma, where the wind comes sweeping down the plain. So, Retro Road Husband will not be performing any music today. So you're going to have me singing random whatever's come up. Ooh. But check it out. Next week is Texas. And if I can finagle him, I've got 3 awesome songs that was like, oh, you have to, could you please? So I gave him a week this week to do that. But thank you, Debbie. Got my hair did yesterday. My fabulous man, Phil. Love him. And thank you all for showing up and giving me an excuse to get my hair done. Other than that, ooh, I'd be a hot mess. So yes, Oklahoma, where the wind, I believe, does come sweeping down the plain. So it does look like a panhandle. And check this out. Lots of places. Now, I have been in Oklahoma. Some of these places... these states I had not been in a while, but the cool thing is about Oklahoma is that when I did I might as well hang it up here. This is our little vintage camper. When I did my Route 66 trip last 2019 in June, I went through Oklahoma, and I actually drew a little line here. So it starts up here. So last week we did Kansas, and right here we did oh my gosh, I was going to say Arkansas, and it is Arkansas, and I was going to joke and say Arkansas, and I wrote it Arkansas, S-A-W, when I wasn't paying attention. Sorry, public school system, that's what you get. Down here is Texas, we did next week. We've got Colorado, New Mexico, but this is where we are. So Route 66 actually goes from Kansas here all the way through the middle of the state and then off to Texas, where we'll do next week. But there are a lot of cool things, both in this kind of main drag through Oklahoma and kind of in the hinterlands. What was that? Further afield. I was using that term and I didn't know if it was right or not. But Jeff Cooper, nice to see you. And here's the deal. This is a funny thing with these big states and even some of the smaller ones. Lots of pins. Not going to be able to get to them all, but I'm going to give you my highlights. And whoa, I have the fan on because it's kind of muggy, so in case something goes like, whoa, you'll know that's why it is. Let me put it down there. So anyhow, the neat thing is, a couple of neat things about Kansas as well, Kansas, Oklahoma, where the wind comes sweeping down the plain. is I got Reese Martin, who is the president of the Oklahoma Route 66 Association. I asked him if he would send me his top 10 favorite places, not just on Route 66, because I know he's biased, and I have a lot of Route 66 things on my trip, on my thing too. But he sent me his top 10. So when one of his top 10s aligns with where we're talking about, I will let you know about that. And thank you so much, Reese. I was lucky enough to meet him at one of the places that we both love that I'll tell you about in Tulsa, which is, I so cannot wait to get back there. I had too much of a good time and too little time to spend when I was there. But so let's hit the road, shall we? You can't see it, but my paper is kind of balancing. Check it out. Ooh, scary. Now I probably screwed this all up. But anyhow, yep, I got my ears lowered. You're right. I had to, because who knows when it's going to happen next. And it was growing in kind of weird. Anyhow, here we go with Oklahoma. So right up in that very corner I was talking about, where Kansas, where's my map? I got my maps here. Miami. Like you're going to see it and you're going to say, oh, it's called Miami, Oklahoma. No, it's called Miami. So be like one of the cool kids, pronounce it correctly, even though during this episode I am almost guaranteed to not pronounce things correctly. But Miami is a couple of wonderful things there. One of them that I went to that it was just such a delightful, unexpected thing, was where I had lunch. I had a burger at a place that you could almost consider being a chain. Now, I usually am very chain aversive, but when it is the only remaining location of a chain that used to have over 200, to me, that's almost like a dinosaur. Like that is something worth going to. And I'm talking about Whalen's Cuckoo. Whalen's Cuckoo Burgers in Miami, Oklahoma. This one opened in 1965. There used to be 200 in the chain, and now there's only this one, and it's adorable. I don't know, hopefully some of you saw the photos that I posted today on Instagram and Facebook about some of the things I was going to talk about today. And this is the place that has the vintage car out front and the really neat old sign. Delicious burger. All sorts of fun stuff to take pictures of. We got a keychain. Maybe you'll get a keychain. Really cool place. And especially because I'm not kidding you when I say that this town is just littered with, got a lot of regular chainy chains. So this Whalen's Cuckoo was a chain, but avoid all the ones that you would see at home. Go here. The place I did miss, which Reese did tell me about, and I concur because I did some research, that is also in Miami, is the Coleman Theater. Now, those of you who know musicians in the Philly area know this is not named after our friend drummer Jimmy Coleman. However, it is actually named from a local mining magnate down in Oklahoma, George Coleman. Built in 1929, the Coleman Theater, it's got kind of a Spanish colonial revival, a Louis XV interior, and it was like kind of with this opulent, not just your little downtown movie theater, it was like a palais to go to. It's still there, being lovingly restored, not just crappily restored, but lovingly restored. So I cannot wait to go to the Coleman Theater. Maybe when we all go on Route 66 and I do all sorts of like live events when the world decides to be safe and we can all travel safely again, perhaps I'll do something at the Coleman Theater. Just putting it out there to the universe. Another place, don't have a lot of info on this, but you'll see a lot of these old like service stations when you're on Route 66. And there is one in Miami. See how good I'm getting at that? The Marathon Oil Company service station in Miami. Well, it's not open. It's a little photo op. Instagram hashtag, all that. So that's that. Now, normally I would probably be heading from down here. And again, this is where I say, don't follow me, I'm lost too. Because I always start by going, all right, we're going to go here to here to here to here. And then I get so excited about things that we make really bad mileage because I'm sending you, like literally, there's a place down here called the Showman's Rest, which I never would have known about unless Reese told me about it. But we are going to be way up here because I need to tell you. I don't have to. I want to and need to tell you. Kirsten, nice to see you. About the Price Tower Art Center. So this is in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. And the thing that I love about this, there's so many things I love about this, is first of all, it is a building designed by Frank Lloyd Wright. So put on your mid-mod hat, your little mid-century modern mid-mod map. Mod Betty is talking right now. But when I was researching this, I realized that this place kind of covers the 4 main ingredients of a place that would go into Retro Road, like one of my Retro Roadmap books. So those of you who have my books, you know that I typically categorize places one of 4 ways. It's either a place to eat, lots of those, a place to do something, the bowling, you go and you look at stuff, like you're not eating basically and you're not shopping, so you're doing something, right? So to shop, how do I do it? It's alphabetical. To do, to eat, to shop, so place, shopping, buying stuff, and then to stay, like hotels, motels, Holiday Inns, all that. So the Price Tower Art Center in Bartlesville actually covers all 4. It's a 19-story place. It is the only kind of like high-rise tower ever designed by Frank Lloyd Wright that was actually completed. You can stay there. There's a museum. There's a wonderful restaurant on site. And, oh, trust me, there's going to be a gift shop with a lot of stuff, Frank Lloyd Wright inspired. So I am there. I'm so excited about going to there. I want to go to there, as they say. The other neat thing about Bartlesville, though, too, is sometimes, like I said, how fun this is that it has all these places in one location. Sometimes you're like, okay, get me out of this building. Like sometimes it's like, this is great. And then you're like, oh, I want to just get out. Have you ever been to like a corporate retreat or like look at my face, I'm like corporate retreat, like a corporate thing where you're stuck and you cannot escape. So I will give you a place, not even to escape because you're going to love this place, but Murphy's Original Steakhouse. Couple of reasons I'm telling you about this. One is I got Murphy's in my family back over in Ireland. Big surprise, Murphy's in Ireland. Second of all, really cool old vintage sign out there. Shape of a cow, steak place. Here's the thing too, again, my local Philly peeps, not steak as in like cheese steak, but an actual like slice of steak that you put on the grill. So it looks a bit like a kind of a fast food place, and you can get burgers and things like that, but you can also get some really good steaks and it looks pretty affordable. So it looked kind of vintage, kind of fun, and a good place to give you the excuse to kind of get out of that one building and go exploring, as I like to say. So that is in Bartlesville. Now, here is a place near Bartlesville that I would not have known about unless Reese from the Oklahoma Route 66 Association told me about it. It was a place called Tallgrass Prairie. I can't even read my own writing. Tallgrass Prairie right here, and I will read you what he wrote to me about it. He says, he says, for my money, the Tallgrass Prairie is the section of Oklahoma that is the most representative of the frontier experience. It's beautiful, open, and peaceful, like my Betty. They have a large bison herd here also. It's just north of Pawhuska, home of Ree Drummond, better known as the Pioneer Woman, and her restaurants. And a lot of people go here in addition to Route 66. So that sounds beautiful, kind of like, the wind is probably sweeping down the plains right there, and the waving wheat, I bet it sure smells sweet. I bet there is wind coming right behind the rain. You and your honey lamb can go watch a hawk, mazing lazy circles in the sky. But I digress. Here was the funny thing I have to share, because it's just us. So I will share how goofy I am. He said the Pioneer Woman. And I'm like, Pioneer Woman? Is that like that giant statue that's out in, I know there's a giant statue out there that's like of a lady, the bonnet. And then I remembered that there is a wildly successful and seemingly wonderful woman named Ree Drummond called the Pioneer Woman. And she is from Oklahoma. And Ree, no harm, no foul. I just don't watch a lot of TV. But if you do and you like her, you go, my friend, to Pawhuska, Tall Grass Prairie, and maybe you can go to one of her restaurants, okay? Okay. Somewhat close to there, on the map, but remember, we're getting into big state country. You know, I'm from here where if something's really close, you can get there in a day. You know, I say it's really close. It's probably hours away, but I wanted to mention it, is the Poncan from Ponca City, the Poncan Theater. Yeah, I have a soft spot for the old-timey theaters, and this one was another one that's kind of like that opulent, old-fashioned kind of place. Built in 1927, it used to be a movie house, then it did live stuff, then it felt down times, now it's back on good times, and they do unique shows, musical reviews, you know, probably tap dancing and stuff like that, so that looks like a wicked cute place. The Poncan Theater in Ponca City. Now, Perry, Oklahoma, this is another place that I would not have known about except for, you know, the generosity. Like when you know a local, here's the deal. Get to know the locals because they will know the places. I give you the outsider perspective and I do my work, but the locals really know what a cool place is. So Reese says the Comeback Lunch Cafe. Comeback with a K. K-U-M-B-A-C-K. Now, those of you who have watched my episodes for a while might remember that in Mississippi, the Mayflower Cafe has a thing called comeback sauce because it's so good you want to come back. I crack myself up. So this is spelled the same way. Calls it the perfect small town Oklahoma diner. Now, not diner like we East Coasters know it, but, you know, small time place that you can eat at. And he says they have some great ones there. Like there's the Rock Cafe that is very well known on the Route 66. But he picked the Comeback Cafe because they have the odd claim to fame of being the oldest cafe in Oklahoma with the same name at the same location. So there's that. Comeback Lunch Cafe in Perry, Oklahoma. I love it when places have like, we're the X of the Y, and so come to us. Like, figure out what it is. Kind of like I talk to people about when you're doing your Just Drive Your Life thing. Find out what makes you special and celebrate it. Me, it's doing these every week and doing the research and telling you about it. Discovering and sharing and wearing my glasses and being goofy. That's what I'm all about, people, but I love it. So that is in Perry, Oklahoma. If I had printed out my map big enough, I'd tell you where it is. But you know where I'm going to show you right now? So I need to watch the time because here's the deal. We are only a smidge. It's an official unit of measure, don't you know? We are just in this little section here, yet we have the whole state to cover. And I could literally spend probably a week up in this area because that's where Tulsa is. Living on Tulsa time, I believe they would call it in the musical biz. But one place I want to show you, and Craig Nye, if you're watching, you're going to love it, because we're in Catoosa. So Catoosa is not the Blue Moon of Kentucky, but the Blue Whale of Catoosa is in Catoosa, Oklahoma. It is a smiling, adorable whale, so cute. It was in the pictures that I posted earlier today, and built in 1970. And here's a really cute story. So it was built by Hugh Davis as a present for his wife. He handmade it in 1970, and it was a surprise because she loved to collect whale figurines, and so he built her this giant whale. Like, how freaking adorable is that, people? Now, sadly, the Davises are no longer with us, and the whale himself or herself kind of, you know, fell onto hard times. But the neat thing is, again, the community realized how special this whale was, and they like rallied and were like, let's get our whale back in shape. So the whale is there. You can go, you can walk into it. There's some really cute little like seats and tables that you can sit at that have like a fish motif if you want a picnic. And it's free to get into. So this is what I ask you. Anytime you go to someplace, if it's free or not, support them and buy something in their gift shop. And if they're still there, I will clue you in. There are some great, like, actual vintage postcards from when this place was like a reptile village back in the day. There's a picture, I think it might be his wife. She's got this psychedelic print dress on, and she's holding like some reptile. I bought a couple myself, and what I'll do, you know what I'll do is I will scan one and put it in the comments so you guys can see it. But they are a hoot. They are adorable, and you could write those to people and like send them off to say, look where I am. I'm doing something fun. Marianne, nice to see you as well. So that is the Blue Whale of Catoosa. That is the next major stop until, holy Moses, we're in Tulsa. And as I said, I definitely could spend like multiple days in Tulsa because there are so many things. Such wonderful people. I had this crazy experience where like the stars aligned and I had just a wonderful opportunities all over about that. But I will think that if you go there, you will too. So this is the place that kind of got me, the second place, I'll tell you about the first place, that got me to say, I'm going to veer off my Route 66 tour. I'm going to divert from the path that my crew was going on because I was with a bunch of people and I said, no, I need to go to Tulsa because I need to see two things. I need to see the thing I'll talk about in a second, but I need to see Buck Adams' Cosmic Curios. So Buck Adams' Cosmic Curios is not an old school place. Well, it is because it is in a old vintage service station, but it's really been opened up recently, just in the past 2 or 3 years, as a gift shop with, check it out, I say check it out, envision this, a giant muffler man, 50 feet tall, not only a muffler man, but a muffler man cowboy. Not only a muffler man cowboy, but a muffler man, really spaceman with a cowboy hat on. And now, because it's so important to go out with your mask on, he even, if you look on Facebook, he's got a mask on right now because he's being safe. So Buck Adam, if it talk about one of those roadside attractions, you need to get your picture taken of, and then you go inside and they've got these awesome, really awesome selection of gifts, a lot of like handmade stuff, original art, fun, funky, like creative stuff that I just love so much. And the owner, Mary Beth Babcock, is just marvelous. She's a wonderful soul. I cannot rave enough about this. They just installed a new neon sign on there. There's a cool neon sign across the street that's like from another building. So Buck Adams, people, just go, okay? Follow them on the Instagrams and the Facebooks and then make a trip to go there. Now, as I said, that was a place that was like, yeah, I got to stop in Tulsa. But really, the first place in Tulsa, I'll be honest with you, that I wanted to go to had more to do with New Jersey than it did Oklahoma. Because you all have seen, I think I did a video post from Weber's Root Beer in no, I misspoke. I did a video from Weber's Root Beer in Pennsauken. And that's the place that had the lollipop things that turn, right? Well, the only other Weber's Root Beer, that again used to be a chain, the only other Weber's Root Beer in the entire country, people, is in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So that was the reason I went there. And it was, well, I'll be honest, I don't want to get too much into my whole Tulsa thing. I could tell that story for like an hour because I had such a wonderful time. I actually missed... they were closed by the time I got there because I spent so much time talking to Reese Martin, who came to Bucks when I was there. And long story short is Weber's is there. It's the original one. There's another Weber's here in Pennsauken, New Jersey. And Maud Betty's going to get the scoop because the Weber's in Stratford, New Jersey. Remember I did like a retro road map video years ago? May, I can't remember her last name, dear little old lady who owned the place and it was closed for a while, so sad we thought it was going to get undone. Somebody reopening it. They bought it. It's supposed to be opening like literally this week. So that's a little bit of a Jersey thing in my Oklahoma thing, but for anybody from Jersey or in the surrounding area, I'm so excited because you barely ever see retro road map worthy places close and then reopen. So to get someplace that's reopened is just like a gift. So I digress, but yes. So when you go to Tulsa, you'll have to go to Buck Adams. You'll have to go to Weber's and a couple of other things. So anybody remember the movie The Outsiders? I realized that I can't remember if I saw it or not. I know I read it, the book, S.E. Hinton. I know I read the book in junior high school, mainly because there's a group of people that I always thought were called the Socs, S-O-C, S-O-C-K-S, S-O-C-S. I realized I was pronouncing it wrong, but who knew? Anyhow, the movie The Outsiders from 1982 was actually filmed in Tulsa. And there are two things that they have kind of, again, celebrate what you have. The house that was used as the Outsiders house has been taken over by some local folks to make it as a destination. And one of the seven drive-in movie theaters in Oklahoma, the Admiral Twin, is in Tulsa, and it was a filming location for that movie. There was a 2010 fire that gutted it, but then they decided it was so important to bring back that they did that. Oh, interesting. The Outsiders this summer. So, Lindy, you know how they have like I think it's the Greasers and the Socias, like society people? I remember reading it thinking they were called the Socks. Because, I don't know. That's how whatever's hiding underneath his hairdo, that's how that works. And so I decided with Retro Road Husband, we're going to watch it tonight. So, hey, Craig, now I just throwing it out there. Cliff and I are going to be watching it on our TV tonight. Maybe you can watch it at the same time. You know, maybe we'll have a big old virtual, everybody watch the Outsiders. So that's there too. Now, here's the deal. I'm already spending so much time on Tulsa, and I have another page worth to go to, and I want to make sure to tell you about many other places in the state of Oklahoma. So I'm going to rattle off a few just really quick, and then keep it in mind for when you're looking for a cool place to go. Okay. Vintage Sewing Machine Museum. Found out about this place because of Diane Dodge and what do we call him? DJ Brother Cleve. We know him from the Boston music scene, but also from the Tiki world. They were driving from Tiki Oasis in Arizona back up to Boston, and told me about this place. So I immediately put it on my map. And then, how cool is this? That speaking of Tiki, a Tiki bar appears. There's a place, it's not vintage, but I love myself a good Tiki bar. They're called the Saturn Room. Has a cool vintage cool neon sign. I would totally go there. So, yeah. Nice to see you, Brian, from Mass. Awesome. And here's just a few things that I did not have a chance to go to this because when I went through Tulsa, I was on my Route 66 trip. So I talk about this in Just Drive Your Life all the time, about the fact that you need to have a destination, but you also need to make time for things. But there's a certain point that if you spend too long at certain things, you're going to blow your timeline as far as getting to where you wanted to go to. So, and especially because I was traveling with other people, I had to be mindful of that. But here are a few other places in Tulsa that I would go to. The Oklahoma Jazz Hall of Fame. There's a place called the Vault Restaurant. There are a couple of cool hotels. There's the Mayo Hotel and the Tulsa Club Hotel that look like old school things. Decopolis, which is the Tulsa Art Deco Museum. There's the Phil Tower building that looks totally Art Deco and awesome. Kane's Ballroom, any music fans and here, you're going to know that place because it's so famous for so many people playing there. Great neon sign outside. Speaking of music, Woody Guthrie Center is there too. And, two people, I just remembered, two more recent things, music-wise from Oklahoma. J.D. McPherson, and Hanson, the Hanson brothers, like Bop. They're from Tulsa or the Oklahoma area. I was thinking, Retro Road Husband is so glad that I did not try to convince him to sing Mbop for you guys, but next week is Texas, and I promise he's going to sing maybe 2.5, but I'm going to hope it's 3 songs next week, so tune in for that. So that's all in Tulsa, right? So spend some time in Tulsa, and let's move on. Now, here's a funny thing, you guys. I learn these things much as like you do. So we were only in Tulsa right here, and then right down here, I realized that I have kind of started a list of places that I want to go to too, because they kind of are, like items together type thing, is the Orpheum Theater in Okmulgee? You don't have to know how to pronounce it to get there, but I love the fact that there are so many Orpheum Theaters dotted around the country. As I said, I went to one of my first shows at the Orpheum Theater in Boston, and so the fact that you could put together I'm going to go to all the Orpheum Theaters across the country and make yourself a route that covers that, I just think that's great. This one was built in 1920, used to be called the Cook for a very short amount of time, but then it was changed to Orpheum Theater, still opened. It's got this wonderful marquee. And, I mean, what a fun photo op to be like, I traveled the world, or the country, maybe there's some in the world, and went to all of the Orpheum Theaters. I don't know. I think it's fun. Maybe you do too. Vince Gill too. Oh, good to know. Yeah. Oh, I gotta tell you guys, seriously, I was looking at. I was going to include some songs from Oklahoma, not the stage show, but if you Google, there's a Wikipedia page for songs about Oklahoma. There's like 1,000, and yeah, whew, a lot of them. So moving right along. This is really funny that I say moving right along for this one, people. Not because I was watching the Muppet movie or anything, because I haven't, but I love that song. So the next place I have on my list, I'm not kidding you, is Pop's Soda Ranch. Now, you may have seen these. Reese Martin from the Route 66 Association recommended it, and I went to it too. It's new. It's from like 2007, but it's got this humongous, like, giant tonic bottle, soda bottle, pop bottle, Pops, get it, Pop, outside. And it's in Arcadia, Oklahoma. Now, listen up, people. Learn from my experience. You can get to Arcadia, but you have to go through a town called Luther first. Do me a favor. Be really careful about the speed limit signs in Luther. I'm not saying they don't exist. They might be behind a tree. Because little old Maud B here, law-abiding, just trying to get to do the things I want, got pulled over for speeding. Now here's the deal. I didn't realize I was speeding. It literally goes from like 40 to 25 in like a second. As soon as I saw the sign, I was like, oh gosh, I didn't realize this. I wasn't meaning to, so I slowed down. That was the second sign. Cost me quite a bit. But I paid it, got on with it, but I'm just telling you, when you go to Pops, be wicked careful going through Luther, all right? Maud Betty says. Then we get to Pops, have yourself a pop, have yourself a tonic, and go there. Now we're on our way to Oklahoma City. So yeah, I had quite a tale to tell when I ended up in Oklahoma City meeting up with my peeps. Now, Oklahoma City, there are so many interesting, crazy museums you can go to if museums are your thing. And I'll just rattle off a few of those too, because some of them kind of crack me up. So in the more shallow end of the pool, or whatever, you've got the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum. You also have the American Pigeon Museum and Library. I wonder if there's like a Bert, you know, Ernie and Bert doing the pigeon. I wonder if there's like a Bert thing there. Oh my God, I so want to go and see if they've got Bert there doing the pigeon. Anyhow, I digress. There's also the American Banjo Museum. And the 99's Museum of Women Pilots. So plenty of museum-y type places. But really, and this is, I'll get serious for like a smidge, and then we'll continue on because this is important. The one place I would recommend you go to, it's not easy to go to, but it's so worth it, is the Oklahoma City National Museum, Memorial and Museum. And we went there, and I was a bit afraid to go into it because this is the museum that was built in honor of the deaths of the 168 people who died when they did the Oklahoma bombing. The Oklahoma bombing happened in 1995. But this place was so wonderful to go to and reflect and find out about it. And their mission statement is, and I'll read it to you because I think this was great. Instead of leaving there feeling decimated, you kind of, I had a moment there. It says, it's to remember those who were killed, those who survived, and those whose lives were changed forever. May all who leave here know the impact of violence. May this memorial offer comfort, strength, peace, hope, and serenity. So, a good place to go to when you're in Oklahoma City. Now, on the slightly lighter end of the spectrum, if you are looking for some place to eat, maybe have a drink after that, here's a place that I wanted to go to, and I can't even remember why we didn't go there. I think my travel guide thought it was a chain. I'm like, no, it's not a chain. So if we all go to Oklahoma City, I would love to have lunch at Cattlemen's Steakhouse. I say lunch because maybe the portions are smaller. Steak can be a belly bomb. Cattlemen's Steakhouse in Oklahoma City was built in 1910. It's in the stockyard area, so you know that's where the cowboys bring the cows to the stockyards, and suddenly they're turned into steaks. The cows are, not the cowboys. The cowboys are fine, but the cows, you see, the cows are the steaks. And it is Oklahoma's oldest continually operating restaurant. So I would love to check that out, old school wise. Speaking of cowboys, here's a fun place in Oklahoma City that Reese Martin recommended. Again, I guess it's number 2 of the 7 drive-in movie theaters in Oklahoma State, is the Winchester Drive-In. Winchester Drive-In has the most amazing waving cowboy neon sign. So I know this is kind of like that guy who is in, the one you see, Howdy Partner, when you're out in Las Vegas. But they have a waving cowboy at the Winchester Drive-In. How fun is that? Another place that he recommended that I didn't even know existed, and it actually didn't exist when I was there, because it just opened literally like 3 weeks ago, maybe 4. Almost a month, because it's now almost the 14th, is a place in Oklahoma City, old-timey motel that they've kind of zhuzhed up and redid, which I kind of love that whole trend. It's kind of a boutique-ifying, but I would so much rather people revitalize something that is already there than have no imagination and crush it to the ground and then build a beige box. Beige box, Johnny. But anyhow, it's a place called the Classen Inn, CLSSEN, in Oklahoma City. It reopened as an interactive, funky destination. It was an old motel transformed into a cool, funky place. And that, to me, is kind of place. I love, like, there are a couple of historic hotels, rather, in Oklahoma City. One of them, I think, is haunted. So that you can go that old school classic vibe, but you can also have fun in a retrovated motel. So Classen's in Oklahoma City. So now, I know I called you out a couple of times, and I see Craig Nye, I see you like the steakhouses, and I actually put, since you've been so good, and you have shown up for so many of my Retro Roadmap Facebook Lives, and you're such a great supporter of what I do, I literally put this detour on the map in just for you, because I saw this collection of places, I think it's down around here somewhere, and I thought, you know what, that sounds like a place that Craig and I would like to go to. And I'm talking about Anadarko, Oklahoma. And the reason I put it there is because, check it out, George's Department Store. I know how you like old-timey, old-school independent department stores, right? There's a place called the Redskin Theater, which looks like a cool old vintage theater. We all love those. And there's a place called the Soda Fountain Eatery. And I know you and I have met at multiple soda fountains and counters and things like that. So, Craig, when you are making your routes or your Oklahoma trip, Anadarko is a detour you should make. And everybody else should too, if those are things you like. The Trade Wind Inn in Clinton. Did I miss a page here? Or maybe not. Maybe I'm just so excited I'm talking really fast. Could be. Here's a fun thing. The Trade Winds Inn in Clinton, Oklahoma. Where am I? Totally spacing out. Is in Clinton, and it is famous for the fact that Elvis Presley, I almost said Elvis Costello. Elvis Presley stayed there back in the day, so there's one room that they've kept. They haven't unchanged it, like, you can still, I think you can still stay in it, but it looks like it did. It's decorated in the way it was when Elvis stayed there. That's the Trade Winds Inn in Clinton, Oklahoma. Trade Winds Inn. And it's room 215. The other fun thing in Clinton, and I think it's almost like right across the street from there, is there's a Route 66 museum. It's wonderful because it's got this kind of interactive thing you can walk through. Great, I will say this, great gift shop area. They have those pens, the floaty pens that you move back and forth. Somewhere on the posts that I did from Oklahoma on my Route 66 trip, I did a little video of the pens, and I got the only snow dome of my entire Route 66 trip there. The ones that you shake and then they have the snow in them. You can't, it's invisible, but you know what I mean. Anyhow, that's the Route 66 museum in Clinton. Now, I think I might have lost a page here, but one place I do want to talk to you about beforehand. Well, actually, here's the thing. I think I do. Silly me. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I mentioned a few places that were kind of around here, but then way down here is a place that I found fascinating because Reese told me about it. It's called the Showman's Rest. So what the Showman's Rest is, it is in Hugo, Oklahoma, and it is a section, check this out, Hugo, Oklahoma used to be a place where when people worked in the circus, you know, like you run away and join the circus, when it got too cold up in the north, they would head south. Now I know in the East Coast, Venice, Florida was also kind of I was going to say a winter haven, but there's a winter haven, Florida, but a winter place for the circus folks to go. So that's in Florida, but here kind of in the middle of the country, when it got too cold for the circus folks up north, they would go to Hugo, Oklahoma, and there's a little section of the Hugo cemetery called the Showman's Rest. And there's a number of gravestones for the circus performers that lived and obviously died in that area. So that's kind of one of those very unique type of places to go to. And I thank Reese for showing me that. Also right up here in McAllister, kind of hard to see, but it's a little bit on the overly retro, not as vintage place, but there is the Happy Days Motel, like Somebody's Diner, and a bowling alley that are all in that kind of like 80s, 90s, like remember when there was that revitalization, everybody got interested in the 50s and stuff like that? They did that in McAllister, so that's a thing too. And not to digress and not to make anybody feel old, least of all me, but isn't it crazy? I think of this, all right? So, Happy Days, American Graffiti, they were early mid 70s, late 1970s, right? So those were only 20 years from when they actually happened, right? Like the mid to late 50s, mid to late 70s. You do the math, right? So the crazy thing is, if we had a show like that now, that would be like the 2000s. Like, no wonder, frankly, that all the kids nowadays are wearing 90s fashions as if they are vintage, because it's, to them, it's like us wearing our 50s clothes in the 70s and 80s. Isn't it crazy? I somehow have lost a couple of decades because I feel like the 90s was just like yesterday, but, you know, kind of crazy. Winter quarters. Yes, thank you, Susan, for saying that. So here's a couple of things that I just want to mention, and I guess I'm going to be, this is crazy. I am going to be, what do I want to say, starting early. Or leaving early. I didn't find any place remarkable here on the Panhandle. So if anybody knows of any vintage or retro places in Oklahoma that are in the Panhandle, or even any that I hadn't mentioned, feel free, please throw them into the comments, because what will happen is that the people who are watching now will get to learn about them, as will I. And also, people who get to watch this video when it's archived on the Retro Roadmap Facebook page will get to watch the comments too. When I archive these, I also archive these on the YouTube page for Retro Roadmap. Now, I do want to say about that, I love it when I do that, mainly because there are some people who, for whatever reason, and it's totally cool, aren't into Facebook. You just miss when you see them on YouTube, they don't have the comments. I like doing the interactive stuff, so that's why I do it here. But if you have any place in Oklahoma that you want to recommend, feel free to throw it in the comments right there. And especially this little panhandling part. Maybe that's why the Okies went west, you know? But here is a crazy thing. So, okay, before we go, talk about going west. So this is like the most westy part of Oklahoma, in this section of it, right before, literally feet before you get into Texas. And there's a little town called Eric. Eric, it's got a K in it. Eric with a K, right? And here's a nutty thing, and this is another reason why I know that Retro Road Husband is so glad I did not ask him to sing anything for today's episode, because I'm saving up, actually. I'm saving up for Texas. Is that Eric, Oklahoma is the hometown to two famous musicians, but songwriters. And actually one of them was an actor as well. They're kind of old school. One of them is Roger Miller, not of Mission of Burma and Birdsongs in the Mesozoic. But the other one is Sheb Wooley. So Roger Miller, you know, trailers for sale or rent, rooms to let 50 cents. You know, king of the road. King of the road. He also sang, this is the one, I don't know, but hopefully everybody's still washing their hands like 20 seconds. So mine is, can't roller skate in a buffalo herd. Can't roller skate in a buffalo herd. Can't roller skate in a buffalo herd. But you can be happy if you have mine too. I was speeding it up, not because of my hand washing, but I didn't want to make you have to pay attention to my my musical skills or lack thereof. But Eric, Oklahoma has this cute little, like the downtown is almost like a ghost town. This town is coming like a ghost town. But around the corner there is a little Eric, Oklahoma museum, and they've got a little section devoted to these guys. More so Roger Miller than Sheb Wooley. Now, Sheb Wooley, for those of you who don't know, and this was something I found out when I was doing this research, so this is great. I knew he was the guy who sang, who wrote the one-eyed, one-horned, flying purple people eater. Remember that song? But also, check this out. Now, I know about this because we have friends with the last name Wilhelm. Donna, Rich, the boys. There is a thing in movies, and you can Google it because it's kind of funny, called the Wilhelm Scream. So the Wilhelm Scream is this famous kind of like, you know, somebody's falling off a cliff or something like that. And they've used it in over 400 movies, including, allegedly, Star Wars films, except for The Last Jedi, and in the Indiana Jones movie. So it is believed that Sheb Wooley is credited with the voice. He was the voice actor who created the Wilhelm Scream sound effect. So I just think that is so interesting. Okay. Yes, I kind of miss it, but yes, thank you, Susan, for saying that the Roger Miller, he's got a lot of great songs. Not to besmirch Mr. Wooley, he did a lovely job with the Flying Purple People Eater, but King of the Road, you know, what's the one? Can't roller skate in a buffalo herd. It's so true. But you can be happy if you have a mind to. All you gotta do is put your mind to it. Knuckle down, buckle down, do it, do it, do it. But also one that there's one, Do Wackadoo was one of those ones. My mother used to sing, and Jeff Cooper, you probably don't know this, but it's about England, because it's called England Swing Like a Pendulum Do. I'll probably put some links to these things so you know what I'm talking about in the comments after I sign off. But I think it is definitely worth your time to stop in Eric, Oklahoma, and check out where these guys came from, because, you know, they were big famous people and they came from just a little town in Oklahoma. Kind of like we all come from somewhere, and hopefully we'll all, you know, go somewhere awesome. The Maud Betty sound effects. Oh, I probably have plenty of those. Yeah. Yes, Roger Miller he covered the spectrum. He did. So yeah, so that leaves us right over here. So picture us, you guys. We're on Route 66. We traveled all the way from Wayland's Cuckoo. We went through Tulsa. We went through Oklahoma City. Looks mighty pretty. You'll see Amarillo. Now Amarillo and Gallup, New Mexico. All the Route 66 places are past this, but this is in the Route 66 song. Amarillo is right here. I will talk about Amarillo next week when I do Texas. Okay? Okay? And then right here in Eric is where we are. And so here is a crazy thing. I am so not making this up. And it was just either really scary Facebook or the internet knowing what I'm researching and everything like this, because I cannot make this up if I tried. I was doing my final research for today's Retro Robot Facebook Live. Oh yes, and thank you, I meant to mention, thank you so much, Debbie Bleaky, for buying me a tea. If anybody has enjoyed these, this one or any of the other 36 Retro Roadmap Facebook Lives that I have done, I've showed up every week since March 17th, and I will continue to do this until December of this year. I have committed. I actually went through my map. I know I'm digressing, but I think this is important because I went through my map and I realized I had actually forgotten a Thursday, so I kind of threw myself off. So the only 2 times that I will not be doing a Retro Roadmap Facebook Live on a Thursday are the following dates. So note, I will not be doing one on Thanksgiving because I don't know where we're going to be, and I'll probably feel all like heavy and stuff like that. Then I also am not going to do one on Christmas Eve, okay, because we all got stuff to do. I will be here, though. The very last Retro Roadmap Facebook Live for all the states is going to be here in California. It just seems organically the place to end. That's going to be New Year's Eve day in December. But I am showing up for all of these. So if you enjoy what I'm doing, feel free to buy me a tea, a coffee. It's a little fun way to give me a tip, you know, kind of fun. But in any case, that's what that is all about. But so thank you, Debbie. I saw that you mentioned, so that was really sweet of you to do so. So here's a funny thing. So I'm doing my research, right? I'm printing out my stuff. And I said, oh, I'm just going to check my email before I head out to the summer studio. And what do I see an email for? And I'm going to show you this because I copied and pasted it right before I hit print. And I get an email, no lie people, for the official Oklahoma Route 66 passport. The email and the exclamation point is me. I added that because I was like, what the? This is crazy. So I got an email about getting this, and I did one of these. It wasn't just for Oklahoma, but when I went on my Route 66 trip, I got this, these really cool, it looks like a passport, and it's got pages where different places in the state or along Route 66 are, and when you go to them, you say, hey, I've got my passport. Can you stamp it? Right? And they stamp it, and it's fun, and you get to talk to people, and sometimes they give you a little sticker or something like that. And I just thought it was kind of either Universe or creepy Google who knew that I was doing something about Oklahoma today and sent me the email literally moments before I got online here. So what I'm going to do is when I sign off is I will share the link because it's free. I will share the link to this Route 66 passport thing because I just think it's great to have like something, not just the thoughts in your head. The thoughts in your head are great, but when you have something that you've written down or something physical that you look at and say, I'm going to do that, it increases the likelihood that you will do something. Literally, I believe the studies say about 44%, maybe 42, 43. Anyhow, when you write something down and say you're going to do it, when you get it from your brain, down here, or if you have like a little thing that says, I am going to do that, then it increases your chances of reminding yourself you're going to do it. So I will put the link to that in the comment section. Speaking of, thank you so much, Jeff Cooper, for putting some comments in there. You rock. And if anybody is interested in visiting Oklahoma or doing Route 66 through it, because it's so awesome, you will have a little like passport, and they have them. I think I got one too in Arizona. Like, again, this is one of those things when I go back on the road, I want to collect them all. I want to do that, and I want to like have that like fun and that scary awkwardness of being like, hey, I've got my thing. You want to like, could you please? I had such a fun time getting out of my comfort zone and talking to people I didn't know when I was traveling because I had this little book that made me talk to the locals. I had an episode, I can't remember what state it was. I want to say it was Missouri, I'm not sure. But I had my Route 66 passport, and I was in this library that had a Route 66 museum. And I went up and I was like, hey, I have this, and they say you have it. And their eyes lit up. And they said, oh my gosh, we just got our stamp, so you will be the first person we get to use the stamp on. And then I did, and they stamped my thing, and we waited for it to dry, because it was that sticky, kind of like that waxy stuff. And I took a picture of them, and then I sent it to them, and then they posted it somewhere, and it was just this really fun thing. So I will put a link to that on the Oklahoma Route 66 passport. I want to give big thanks to Reese Martin. Reese Martin, who, thank God I didn't call you Reese Witherspoon, huh? Maybe I just did, but Reese Martin, president of the Route 66 Association of Oklahoma, was instrumental in many of these places that I just mentioned to you. If anybody is ever interested, I've been wondering about this, if it's worth it for me to create a more formal PDF, a little bit more formatted, so it would take me some time, so I'd ask for a few bucks, you know, to just reimburse me for my time. But I'd be more than happy for maybe a couple of those coffees or teas to put a thing where I show like the link to this map that I have, and then perhaps a downloadable PDF of some of the places that I go to. If you're interested in me doing something like that, like I'm not going to make the effort unless anybody's interested, but if you are, please put that in the comments, or, you know, put a message on Retro Roadmap, that type of thing. Let me know if that's something you are, you know, you would be interested in. So anyhow, I know it's a few minutes before 4 o'clock, but I think it's time for me to sign off, because I feel like I have talked about Oklahoma. I've told you that next week is episode 38. Next week is Texas. Gosh, talk about a wicked big state, huh? Talk about also a wonderful state for music, or songs about Texas. Deep in the heart of Texas. That's the one I can sing. Retro Road Husband has promised to sing some songs, and so we'll have a little fun thing like we did last week. So I think it is time for me to say, Oklahoma, where the wind comes sweeping down the plain, and the waving wheat will sure smell sweet when the wind comes right behind the rain. Oklahoma, every night my honey lamb and I sit around and talk and watch a hawk making lazy circles in the sky. That was my Boston accent singing about Oklahoma, which obviously means it's time for me to go. But until next week, people, please, especially tomorrow, do this for me. Think about the places you want your life to go to. You know, I talk about real places, but think about the things you want to do in your life and how you want your future to look. And really, you know, take it out of the head, write it down, because it'll be so much more likely to happen if you write it down. And then do one thing this weekend, just one thing that gets you one step or 1 mile closer to some of these destinations, whether it's the travel, whether it's the clean house, whether it's, you know, eating slightly healthier, maybe, you know, whatever it is. Do me a favor, especially because tomorrow is 9/11, and there are people in the world from 9/11, from COVID, who don't have the opportunity to create their best life. Create your best life in honor of the people who aren't here. Okay? So that's Maud Betty saying, just drive your life, and I'll see you next week. All right?